Northern Virginia Community College, EDU 204, Religion, presented by Teacher Education Program Head Ashley Wilkins, adapted from Chapter 8 of Multicultural Education in a Pluralistic Society by Golnick and Chin. Learning objectives. Explain religion's importance to the cultural makeup of an individual and the diversity of religions across the United States. Discuss the First Amendment and its impact on education. Describe the importance of religion and diversity of religious freedom internationally. Discuss how religion in the United States has changed in the last several decades and continues to change, providing specific examples. Describe how the interaction of religion with gender, LGBTQ+ identity, and race. List examples of legal challenges to the separation of church and state in the United States and the court's responses. This chapter explores the significance of religion in shaping an individual's identity, comparable to factors like gender, class, or ethnicity. The focus is on understanding the cultural impact of religion rather than conducting a comparative analysis. The textbook chapter briefly covers major and some minor religious groups in the United States, acknowledging the impossibility of addressing every group comprehensively. The decision to limit the discussion does not diminish the importance of any group. This textbook emphasizes evangelical Christians due to their influence on politics and efforts to impact education. Additionally, there is a specific focus on Islam, driven by events such as September 11th, ongoing conflicts, and the global growth of Islam. Religion can be an important part of the cultural makeup of an individual. Religion is likely as important in shaping an individual's persona as gender, class, and ethnicity. The religious diversity in American schools is influenced by geographic regions, with immigration patterns leading to different ethnic and religious groups settling in various areas. The perspectives of religious communities impact parental expectations from schools, posing challenges if the values are incongruent. Schools across the U.S. exhibit distinctive patterns. Southern schools may be dominated by conservative Protestant backgrounds, like the Southern Baptist Church or the Church of Christ. The community impact. Local churches serve as primary social institutions, and school boards frequently scrutinize curriculum for objectionable content. Midwestern schools. Ohio, Indiana, Pennsylvania, Iowa. These schools may be influenced by the presence of Amish and Mennonite families. Students may dress conservatively. Amish families will leave school after the 8th grade and work on a farm, most likely without electricity. Mennonite families will allow their children to pursue higher education if they wish. Utah and Idaho. The religious majority in these states are members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, also known as Mormons. In schools, religion is not taught, but church values are reflected. Students may receive release time for seminary attendance, and there is an expectation of missionary service post-graduation. Most communities in the U.S. reflect diverse religious backgrounds, with a mix of Roman Catholic, Baptist, Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, Buddhist, atheist, and agnostic students. Therefore, religion is not a significant factor in the curriculum or daily school life. The examples highlight the religious diversity in U.S. communities, impacting the overall school culture. While schools historically reflect white Protestant dominance, religious influences vary across regions, shaping expectations and practices. The First Amendment prohibits Congress from making laws establishing or prohibiting religion, emphasizing the separation of church and state. This constitutional provision has sparked controversy, as interpretations vary based on an individual's religious perspectives. Since a 1963 Supreme Court decision removed prayer from school, conservative groups have sought to restore it through legislation. Religious grounds have been used to oppose sex education and evolution teaching, leading to conflicts among parents over curriculum and reading materials. Liberal denominations may support exposure to diverse perspectives, while conservative groups resist what they perceive as immoral viewpoints. Individuals linked to conservative religious groups sometimes lead community resistance to cultural pluralism and multicultural education. Multicultural education, despite fostering diversity and understanding, may be seen as challenging efforts to maintain religious values. Religion poses unique challenges for educators. Differing religious backgrounds or perspectives can lead to conflicts, hindering effective instruction. Ignoring the role of religion may impede the development of appropriate instructional strategies and jeopardize an educator's position. Religion as a way of life. Many religions are particularistic in that members can believe that their own religion is uniquely true and legitimate, and all others are invalid. Other religious groups accept the validity of distinct religions that have grown out of different historical experiences. The United States is often viewed as a religious country, with around 74% of Americans considering religion important to them, and 89% expressing belief in God or a universal spirit. However, there is a growing divide in beliefs. While 55% still think religion can address most problems, this has declined from 82% in 1957. Weekly religious service attendance has decreased, with 23% of people attending and 27% of people never attending in 2017. About a third of Americans are highly religious, while another third are not religious at all. Religion influences the way many people think, perceive, and behave. Mormons are identified as the most religious group, 74%, followed by Protestants, Muslims, Catholics, and Jews. In terms of satisfaction with the influence of organized religion, 52% are satisfied, 5% want more influence, and 28% want less. Despite this, 73% believe religion is losing influence in American life, with only 24% thinking it is increasing. The belief in the Bible as the literal word of God has decreased from 38% in 1976 to 24% in 2017, with the belief that it was inspired by God remaining the same at 47%. Several nations, including Brazil, Japan, the United States, Italy, South Africa, and the United Kingdom, have relatively very few restrictions on religious expression. However, globally, 25% of countries face high or very high levels of government restrictions on religious beliefs or behaviors. In 2015, 40% of countries experienced issues due to government restrictions, combined with hostilities from private groups or individuals. Russia, Egypt, India, Pakistan, and Nigeria had the highest levels of government restriction and social hostilities. Instances like terrorist attacks have led to unfortunate reprisals against innocent Muslims. How religion has changed and continues to change in the United States. Religion in the United States is constantly changing. In addition, religion in the United States is dynamic, with surprising diversity among different ethnic groups. While some people assume Asian Americans predominantly follow Asian religions, 42% are actually reported to be Christian. Some African Americans have shifted from traditional Protestant churches to groups like Black Muslims, and some Latinos have left the Roman Catholic Church for Pentecostal churches. Regional religious strongholds still persist, but some denominations, like Southern Baptists and Mormons, have expanded nationally. 73% of the U.S. population identifies as Christian. Americans tend to identify not only with major groups, but also with smaller groups or denominations. Protestantism, historically dominant, constitutes 48.5% of the population. The remainder of the U.S. population can be summarized as 22.7% Catholic, 0.8% Muslim, and 2.1% Jewish. It is important to note that Islam continues to grow in the U.S. Denominational differences often stem from ethnic origins, with various groups establishing distinct churches. Religious pluralism has led to greater acceptance, yet some smaller groups, like Jehovah's Witnesses, maintain independence and face historical harassment. Conflict among major faiths, Protestantism, Catholicism, Judaism, and Islam, have occurred, and anti-Semitic, anti-Muslim, and anti-Catholic sentiments persist in some areas today. Despite historical conflicts, the hope is that religious pluralism will foster better understanding and respect for religious differences in the future. The following sections look into the 4 major faiths and others found in various U.S. schools. The religious landscape in the United States is shifting. While the United States has remained primarily a Christian nation with strong Protestant influence, the country has seen slow but steady changes in the last few decades. While historically a predominantly Christian nation with a strong Protestant influence, changes in immigration patterns have brought religious diversity. In the East San Gabriel Valley of Los Angeles County, for example, there are various religious centers representing Buddhism, Islam, Southern Baptists, and Hinduism. The influx of immigrants has altered not only the ethnic composition, but also the religious makeup of the country. The findings of the American Religious Identification Survey sent shockwaves across the country's religious communities. There is a decline in religiosity in the United States, with a rising number of individuals identifying as nuns or having no religious affiliation, reaching 21% in 2017. This trend has led to concerns, especially among conservative Christians, who fear the influence of non-Christian religious beliefs brought in by immigrants. The country, however, remains religious, with about 3/4 identifying as Christians, though less Christian than in the past. Many conservative Christians feel they are losing the battle over social issues, such as school prayer, abortion, and same-sex marriage. The evolving landscape has implications for educators. While some conservatives choose to homeschool to protect their children from what they perceive as objectionable societal elements, educators are professionally obligated to respect the religious values of all students. Vigilance is needed for religious intolerance, and the right to hold beliefs should not translate into imposing them on others in the public school setting. Protestantism in the United States, claiming 48.5% of the population, is no longer the numerical majority, but continues to wield influence. It is often divided into liberal and conservative categories. Liberal Protestants, or mainline Protestants, stress individual determination in religion, rely on Christian experience over dogmatic pronouncements, and may not adhere to conservative beliefs. Conservative Protestants emphasize the inerrancy of the Bible, supernatural elements, salvation, and the second coming. Southern Baptists are prominent in this category. Protestants have had a historical involvement in public education, leading to legal battles over curriculum and content practices, such as teaching creationism. Protestant institutions of higher education, like Yale and Baylor, have also played significant roles. Evangelical Christians, a subset of Protestants, make up 25.4% of the population and exert considerable influence. They emphasize conversion, biblical authority, and social conservatism, being strongly involved in politics, particularly in supporting the Republican Party. The division between conservative and moderate evangelicals is evident, especially regarding issues like LGBTQ+ rights and immigration policies. Evangelicals have a strong presence in education, while some opting for private Christian schools or homeschooling. They seek to influence school boards and curriculum to align with Christian values, particularly opposing LGBTQ+ inclusion. School prayer and tuition tax credits are recurring issues for evangelicals. Despite internal divisions, younger and more diverse evangelicals are emerging, challenging traditional views on social issues and immigration. The Roman Catholic Church, with approximately 1.3 billion adherents globally, constitutes the largest Christian church. In the United States, it represents the second largest religious group, but the largest denomination, with 22.7% of the population identifying as Catholic. The church is headed by the Pope, with central administration in Vatican City. In the U.S., the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops oversees nearly 200 dioceses, with 16 active U.S. cardinals. Pope Francis, the current pope, has emphasized humility, concern for the poor, and interfaith dialogue. His tenure has faced challenges, notably the clerical abuse scandals, leading to investigations and substantial credibility, financial, and membership losses. Diversity exists within the Catholic Church, with parishes varying based on race, ethnicity, and social class. While the Church adheres to uniform doctrine, differences may emerge among the dioceses based on conservative or liberal views. Membership losses, particularly due to clerical abuse issues, have been significant, with the U.S. Catholic Church experiencing greater losses than any other religious institution through religious switching. Political diversity is evident, with Catholics splitting their votes in elections. Catholics in the U.S. demonstrate diversity in their views, while some advocate for changes in church positions, such as the use of birth control and allowing priests to marry. The Church's stance on issues like women's participation in leadership and opposition to certain forms of birth control face dissent. The U.S. Catholic Church incorporates various ethnic groups, conducting services in different languages, and celebrating cultural events. The Roman Catholic Church has developed the largest private education system in the U.S., with parochial schools providing quality education to both Catholic and non-Catholic students. Catholic universities, including Notre Dame, have significantly influenced American culture. Judaism, one of the oldest religions globally, holds historical roots for Catholicism and Protestantism. The Jewish population in the United States, estimated at 2% of the total population, has made significant contributions across various fields, despite its relatively small size. Jewish Americans have historically faced religious persecution, leading to immigration, particularly from countries like Russia, Poland, and Germany. Diversity exists within Judaism, and Reform synagogues, being more prevalent in the U.S., although Orthodox and conservative affiliations persist. Jewish identity combines historical, religious, and ethnic variables, with various religious practices adapted to American circumstances. Education, especially higher education, plays a crucial role in advancing young people within the Jewish community. Judaism's effect on education is reflected in public K-12 schooling for the majority, private preschools, kindergartens, and yeshivas for Orthodox groups. Jewish universities contribute significantly to higher education. December celebrations in schools have evolved to embrace inclusivity, recognizing various holidays, including Hanukkah, to reflect the diverse student population. However, anti-Semitism remains a historical challenge rooted in centuries-old conflicts and religious wars. Discrimination, both socially and occupationally, persists, with incidents reported and tragic events like the 2018 Pittsburgh Synagogue Massacre, highlighting the ongoing challenges of the anti-Semitic sentiments. Islam, meaning to surrender to the will or law of God, is a major world religion, with approximately 1.8 billion adherents globally, constituting 24% of the world's population. Projected to be the fastest growing religion, Islam is expected to approach the number of Christians by 2050. In the United States, Islam is one of the fastest growing religions, making up an estimated 1% of the population. Despite common misconceptions associating Islam primarily with the Middle East, countries like Indonesia, Pakistan, and India have larger Muslim populations. Islamic beliefs center around the Quran, believed by Muslims to be the exact words revealed by God to the Prophet Muhammad. Islam's basic tenets include faith in one God, Allah, daily prayer facing Mecca, clarity, fasting during Ramadan, and a pilgrimage to Mecca. Within Islam, there are two major groups, Sunni and Shia, with political and power struggles often fueling conflicts. The majority of Muslim students in the U.S. attend public schools, but concerns about safety, exacerbated by events like 9/11, have led some Muslim parents to enroll their children in private Islamic schools. In summary, the challenges faced by Muslims often impact their education. Teachers must emphasize the importance of understanding and addressing religious diversity and tolerance in educational settings. Buddhism is a major global religion with nearly 500 million adherents worldwide, concentrated mainly in Asia and the Pacific region. In the United States, Buddhists make up about 0.7% of the population, totaling 2.3 million people. Immigration from Asian countries continually shapes the religious demographics in the United States. However, Buddhism is the only major world religion projected to decline in both real numbers and percentage by 2050, decreasing from 6.9% to 5.2% of the world population. Buddhism encompasses various schools of thought, united in their fundamental negative attitude toward life and a pessimistic view of ordinary existence. Buddhists believe that existence itself is the source of suffering, and the solution lies in following the teachings of Buddha to overcome the challenges of life. Buddhists aim for enlightenment through the middle way, avoiding extremes of luxury or self-deprecation. Salvation and enlightenment lead to the state of nirvana, where individual desires and suffering cease. Different forms of Buddhism are practiced worldwide, and cultural influences, such as Confucian philosophy in Chinese, Japanese, Korean, and Vietnamese communities, can shape individual beliefs. These cultural traits include a commitment to academic excellence, respect for parents, elders, and authority, and are often influenced by Confucian principles. Hinduism is the major religion in India and the world's third largest religion, with approximately 1.1 billion adherents, constituting 15% of the global population. In the United States, there are an estimated 2.3 million Hindus, making up around 0.7% of the U.S. population. Hinduism, often considered the world's oldest organized religion, lacks a single founder and central organization. It has influenced the development of Buddhism. Hinduism does not limit itself to a single sacred text. Instead, several sacred writings contribute to its basic beliefs. Hinduism teaches that the soul undergoes reincarnation after death, being born into different life forms based on the law of karma, where every action influences the nature of the subsequent reincarnation. A virtuous life leads to higher states of existence, while evil actions may result in lower forms. Reincarnation continues until the soul achieves spiritual perfection, entering a state called moksha, from which it does not return. Apart from the major religions in the United States, there are other faiths that educators may encounter in their communities, such as Latter-day Saints or Mormons. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is a rapidly growing Christian group founded in the early 1830s by Joseph Smith. The LDS Church's sacred scriptures include the Book of Mormon, the Old and New Testaments, and Smith's later revelations. After facing opposition and violence, Mormons, led by Brigham Young, migrated to Utah, which became their religious center. With a reported membership of 6.6 million in the U.S. and 9.3 million in North America, Mormons emphasize family values, traditional gender roles, and are politically and socially active. Eastern Orthodoxy. The Eastern Orthodox Church, with members from Syria, Greece, Russia, and Ukraine, split from the Roman Catholic Church in 1054. Despite its smaller presence in the U.S., estimated at 0.5% of the population, or 1.6 million individuals, it has a worldwide membership of 260 million, constituting 12% of the global Christian population. The Eastern Orthodox Church has 15 self-governing churches, each with its own spiritual leader. Interaction of religion with gender, LGBTQ+, and race issues. Religion plays a significant role in shaping individuals' perceptions, attitudes, and values. Those raised in a particular religious tradition tend to absorb the cultural values associated with that religion, integrating them into their personal belief systems. This influence extends beyond politics to impact attitudes on issues such as gender, sexuality, and race. Religion, as a cultural and moral framework, contributes to the formation of individuals' perspectives and beliefs on various social and ethical matters. In the United States, questions persist about the exclusion or limitations of women in male-dominated religious systems, particularly in more conservative religious bodies. Some religious traditions, such as Roman Catholicism, Eastern Orthodoxy, Mormonism, and certain conservative Protestant denominations, have clear and restrictive roles for women. The Southern Baptist Convention, for instance, explicitly banned women pastors in 2000. While certain women played prominent roles in the early days of Christianity, biblical passages are sometimes used to justify limitations on women in religious leadership roles. Various religious groups, including Islam, also tend to limit female participation in leadership roles, reflecting cultural norms. The diversity of women's roles in different religious communities within the United States highlights the impact of both religious teachings and cultural contexts. Educators need to be aware that societal attitudes toward gender equality or inequality may be rooted in religious practices, influencing individuals' perspectives and behaviors. It is crucial for educators to foster an environment that encourages both female and male students to develop leadership roles and pursue their potential without imposing limitations based on religious beliefs. LGBTQI+ issues have become a contentious topic within religious institutions. Debates over LGBTQI+ rights often involve conflicting biblical interpretations, with some arguing that religious texts are unclear or open to misinterpretation. Conservative religious groups tend to view LGBTQI+ behavior as a choice, a sin, or an abomination, while more liberal groups argue that individuals are born LGBTQ+. The controversy is reflected in legal battles, such as California's Proposition 8, which aimed to ban gay marriage and received support from various conservative religious groups. Despite societal shifts and legal advancements, certain religious denominations, including the Catholic Church, Baptists, Latter-day Saints, and Orthodox Jews, continue to oppose same-sex marriages. Evangelical Christians, in particular, often maintain strong anti-LGBTQI+ sentiments, although there is a small but growing number of theologians exploring the possibility of same-sex relationships within their theology. The conflicting perspectives contribute to controversies like conversion therapy, which is rejected by major medical and psychological associations, but is supported by some religious and political groups. In the education setting, educators are urged to create a safe and accepting environment for all students, respecting diverse views while preventing harassment or discrimination based on gender and sexual identity. Religion has played a significant role in shaping perspectives on race and ethnic diversity in the United States. In the past, misinterpretations or selective interpretations of biblical scriptures were used to justify things such as slavery and racism. For instance, the Southern Baptist Convention formally apologized in 1995 for its historical support of slavery and perpetuation of a racist culture. The Bible itself does not condemn slavery, and historical figures, including Spanish explorers, used religious justifications for enslaving native populations. African Americans, historically facing racism in mainstream denominations, often organized their own religious institutions. Black churches have played crucial roles in the African American community, providing support, pride, self-help philosophies, and contributing significantly to the civil rights movement. Many civil rights leaders were ministers, and churches served as hubs for organizing protests, nonviolent confrontations, and boycotts. While African American churches have been instrumental in achieving civil rights gains, some younger generations have become disenfranchised, feeling that these churches are not sufficiently engaged with contemporary social issues. Nonetheless, the historical significance of the Black church remains strong, even as some individuals explore secular organizations. Efforts by school districts and state legislators to challenge the separation of church and state, as outlined in the First Amendment, have been a recurring theme. Despite the awareness of the laws related to church and state, some legislators may feel compelled to inject their concept of morality and ethics into schools. The Supreme Court, responsible for ruling on the constitutionality of such directives, has made significant rulings related to education, the First Amendment, and the separation of church and state. Some notable cases include Engel versus Vitale, prohibiting any type of prayer in schools in the form of school-sanctioned prayer. Of course, students and teachers are free to pray on their own in school. While the principle of separation of church and state is theoretically maintained, there are instances where it is challenged, such as oaths made on Bibles, the phrase "In God We Trust" on U.S. currency, congressional prayer breakfasts, and the inclusion of "under God" in the Pledge of Allegiance. Complete separation, as advocated by strict constitutionalists, would have far-reaching consequences on religious activities, rights, and privileges, affecting tax status, national holidays, and more. Public schools are expected to be secular, but debates persist about their role in fostering student morality and social responsibility. Striking a balance between providing values orientation and respecting religious diversity is challenging, as educators must navigate community values that influence schools and be mindful of the potential conflicts with the principle of the separation of church and state. Several controversial issues in schools challenge the principle of the separation of church and state. Even if a community majority supports an issue, it may have already been ruled against by the courts. Evangelical Christians and conservative religious groups often advocate for school prayer, despite Supreme Court decisions in 1962 and 1963 against school prayer. While school prayer garners majority public support, 61%, the courts are concerned with its constitutionality. Private prayers by teachers and students are allowed, but public group prayers are forbidden. Proponents sometimes use the term voluntary prayer, advocating for mandated school prayer where students can choose to participate. However, courts consistently strike down such attempts due to concerns about social pressure. Religion can be studied as a class subject, and religious symbols and objects can be used for instructional purposes, but displays must be temporary and for instruction only. The courts permit the temporary display of Christmas trees and Hanukkah menorahs as secular symbols. Teachers may choose to say Happy Holidays instead of Merry Christmas to avoid misunderstandings or conflicts regarding students' religious preferences. School vouchers, which allow parents to choose public or private schools for their children using tax-funded subsidies, elicit strong emotions from both supporters and detractors. In 15 states and the District of Columbia, school vouchers are offered, with varying amounts averaging $2,000 to $5,000. Advocates argue that vouchers provide an alternative to underperforming public schools and improve educational quality by fostering competition. In addition, proponents believe vouchers can decrease expenses for school districts. Supporters for vouchers assert that vouchers can enhance diversity, reduce segregation, and create more integrated schools. However, opponents argue that vouchers divert essential funds from public schools, worsening their financial crisis. They contend that the voucher amounts are insufficient to cover tuition at many private schools, especially those in affluent areas. Critics also claim that the primary beneficiaries are wealthy and financially borderline families who can only afford private schools with voucher assistance. Additionally, transportation issues may hinder students from accessing preferred schools located in distant areas. Censorship involves the removal or restriction of expressive materials from public access, including books, films, and art. Motivations for censorship vary widely, often targeting content deemed disrespectful to authority, religion, or social values, as well as obscenity, explicit language, and controversial themes. Books may be banned for reasons such as offensive language, racial slurs, depiction of witchcraft or violence, and content related to the LGBTQ+ issues. Censors, whether self-appointed individuals or groups, exert pressure on institutions like schools and libraries to avoid stocking or displaying targeted materials. Censorship also extends to education, with textbook selection committees influencing how historical events are portrayed. The impact of censorship in schools is significant, leading to the dismissal or resignation of educators and administrators. Reasons for censorship include disrespect of authority and religion, destructive to social and cultural values, obscene, unpatriotic, or pornographic. Censorship efforts often spark community division and controversy, as censors believe they are morally obligated to protect minds from objectionable content, while opponents argue for academic freedom and inclusive education. Effective communication with parents about curriculum objectives and how they align with family values can mitigate potential issues. Teachers are advised to gauge community sentiments before introducing controversial materials or teaching strategies. Here are some implications for your future classroom in terms of religion. Religion can be taught in public schools as an objective discipline, often through comparative religions courses. Students are not compelled to practice a religion but can study various ones. However, certain guidelines apply. Schools can sponsor the study of religion, but not a specific religion. Instruction can cover beliefs, but not indoctrinate or attempt conversion. Schools can teach what people of different religions believe, but not dictate students' beliefs. Recognizing and respecting religious diversity is crucial in classrooms, with educators leveraging this understanding for effective teaching strategies. Acknowledging the importance of religion to students and their families fosters an inclusive learning environment. Educators should avoid stereotyping students based on their religious affiliations and periodically reassess their interactions to prevent discrimination based on religious differences. Understanding the influences within communities and being aware of one's own biases are vital for fostering student development. Teachers should periodically re-examine their own interactions with students. Teachers should be sure to teach that the U.S. is rich in religious diversity. Teachers should avoid stereotyping all students from one denomination or church. Teachers should show respect for religious differences by their interactions with students from different religious backgrounds. In conclusion, the intersection of religion and education presents a delicate balance, one where the principles of religious freedom and the separation of church and state coexist with the pursuit of knowledge and understanding. While public schools must remain neutral regarding specific religious doctrines, the objective study of religion can enrich students' understanding of diverse cultures and belief systems. Teachers play a pivotal role in fostering an inclusive atmosphere, respecting religious diversity, and ensuring that education remain a bridge rather than a barrier among students of different faiths. By upholding the principles of academic freedom and sensitivity to the religious backgrounds of their students, educators can contribute to the development of informed and tolerant individuals who can navigate a world shaped by diverse perspectives.